Space Crusade. Takes you into warp space to fight the force of chaos. Deep in a parallel universe where nightmares are real. Space Crusade, the ultimate adventure game where you must use all your skill and weaponry.
Plasma gun! Dreadnought!
To battle through infested starships. Emerge the victor and win the highest rank. The ultimate encounter is here. Space Crusade.
When I was a kid, I owned the Space Crusade board game that we just saw the advert for, and I loved it. It was the perfect feeling of claustrophobia and big marines killing aliens, very much like Aliens 2, which was awesome and had come out a few years previously. Then, a few years later, Space Hulk comes out on the Amiga, and again, I'm totally engrossed. But until the Space Marine video game came out, I've been missing that feeling of big boots stomping on a derelict metal spaceship until we got our very own Space Hulk event in Tacticus. Now, obviously, it's Tacticus, and it'll be sticking with the Tacticus game feeling, as you can see on screen, but today I want to dive a little bit into what you need to do to be a success through this mode. In our Space Hulk event, you can pick 5 characters from a selection of factions, which this time it's the Loyalist Marine factions, and then you're going to fight off wave upon wave of Tyranids and Gene Stealers until you succumb to overwhelming forces, while picking up boosts, heals, and other goodies along the way to help you survive. Generally though, these are not meant to be won, but instead, you're just intended to survive as long as you can. And there's one last thing before we dive into it. I'm not a min-maxer player. I'm not one of the top meta players. I'm here to have fun and look together at what we can do to be successful in the event. And so let's start with that, because what exactly is success in this event for me? For that, we need to come to the rewards section and take a look through it. And you'll see the enemies we're going to be facing, as well as the rewards you can get for completing each wave. Usually it's points that you can use to open the Dark Angels crate, which has forecast shards and other goodies within it. In terms of enemies, they're pretty standard for most of the way through. We know that the Gene Stealers will be annoying as heck, using their decoys to respawn and slow down your progress between waves. Then the pure Gene Stealers have infiltrate, so any overwatching characters you use like Sarquel or Forecast won't hit them from within Overwatch. And in previous events, my goal was always to get to wave 10, as this is where you would get the 3 Codex of Wars, and it was a really satisfying success for me personally, as I always want to get more XP. Now though, this comes after wave 11, where you're going to be fighting 5-star Gold 3 champions. But now there's also another target for me, which is wave 13, because you get a mythic Grimoire of War XP book, which is the equivalent of 5 Codex of Wars, and it's quite a big boost for leveling. Honestly, you can push farther, but that's the minimum that I'm going to be trying to hit. And we can see that this is going to be a challenge because wave 13 is where the real enemy champions appear. A Diamond 1 Tyrant Guard and 6 Diamond 3 Barb Gaunts. And these are the real enemy in this wave, because if you don't get them engaged quickly, they're just going to blast you to death from the other side of the battlefield. Who are the best champions to be picking for this event? We have 5 factions: the Ultramarines, Black Templars, Blood Angels, Dark Angels, and Space Wolves. Firstly, it's important to note that you really should be taking your highest level champions. If you have someone at Diamond 3, then it's better to take them than it is to take someone that I mention at Gold 1. Your survivability is just much higher. But with that said, I'll always try and take a healer, and although you know I love Incisus, I have to say that recently Nicodemus might be taking the crown as the best Imperial healer in the game because of his balance between offense and defense. Next, I'm looking for some damage champions that can balance survivability with damage. For this, Titus is an amazing champion, someone I've talked about in my last video as someone you may be sleeping on, but if you haven't been and you've leveled him, then you can put some pickups like damage and armor into him, and oh boy, he's just going to keep surviving through so much. Alongside him, Forecast has a great Overwatch and maybe another sleeper champion that hopefully some of you will get to play in this event to show you what he can do to tear through enemies. If you keep him next to others, he deals more damage as well, so make sure to keep him grouped up. Jaeger is very similar, as he will just beat the hell out of anyone attacking him in melee. Although it should be noted that there are a lot of ranged enemies with Neophytes, Termagants, and the aforementioned Barb Gaunts, so he might not do as much damage as you would think in other modes. Next, I'll be looking for a champion whose active I can refresh to make an impact on the battlefield, and there are two here which are useful. Marneus Calgar for his Gauntlets of Ultramar, which can kill everything around him and really clear the battlefield out, and Bellator, who will constantly add his belly babies to the battlefield, which are great distractions and troops in their own right at the lower levels. Finally, I'll be taking a tank along, and I really like the poster boy of this event, Baraquel, for this one. His passive reduces damage every time he gets hit and around, and then he can turn that damage into a big blast of plasma damage from his active that can see him kill 3 enemies easily. The other 2 tanks who are pretty decent are Azrael, especially if you're leaning heavily into the other Dark Angels in your lineup, as he reduces damage by a lot with his passive. Then we have Brother Butchered, who is just an absolute amazing tank. Outside tips for success are Mephiston and Lucian, both of whom can take down a couple of champions at a time, have great range for movement, and are generally just good champions. And unfortunately, the Space Wolves are the ones I feel are least suited to the event. Although Aryak, Ragnar and Ulf are all decent enough in their own right, I would just rather have them as backups rather than the main troops. For everyone I haven't mentioned, if you have them at Diamond 3, they're going to be okay. Otherwise, I would be a bit concerned with prioritizing them in this event specifically, but let me know if you think otherwise. Okay, now I want to show you a match. Remember, my goal is to complete Wave 13 and get that Mythic XP book. I'm using Diamond 1 characters with max skills and weapons, but I imagine a lot of you will have 1 or 2 Diamond 3 characters that may take you further into this mode. I've taken Forecast and Titus as my aggressive characters, and I'll be looking to get power-ups onto them. I have Nicodemus for healing, Baraquel for some tankiness, but also for his plasma cannon to take down some enemies, and then I've brought Bellator, who's going to use his power-ups. Personally, I would prefer to take Calgar, but I know a lot of people don't have him, so I wanted to show what it looks like when you use him instead. The first thing that I want to highlight is that this button here skips the current wave. It's an important button that you need to utilize a lot when you're trying to get a really high score, and it gives you extra points for using it. I always use it after the first wave comes in. Just note that it doesn't refresh your characters, so if you've already moved and attacked with him and you press this button, you won't get another move and attack until you end the round. But if you have some spare movement or attack, then you'll be able to use them after you've clicked it. In this video, I don't utilize it as much as I would normally do because I just want to show you some of the basic movement patterns that I use rather than focusing on trying to get the highest score possible. From here, I just start cleaning up as much as I can to get to the next point, where we find the second most useful function in the game. When you complete a wave, a tick is shown on the top to let you know that it's completed, and that means your characters are going to level up. You want to be completing older waves as quickly as possible, otherwise the new enemies that spawn can end up 2 or 3 levels above you, and they will wipe you out. To find out which enemies are left, you press on the actual wave chevron itself, and it will highlight every enemy from that wave with this spiral shape. That means that you can track where the older enemies are and make sure you prioritize them. You will see me doing this repeatedly throughout the video. In fact, I do it nearly every time there's a spawn just to see where everybody is. For the pickups, I'm going to try and use the damage ones on the damage champs, and then for the rest, I'm going to try and pick them up as quickly as I can maneuver around to them so that they don't get squashed by enemies. I will keep the active refresh one for Bellator, and then the only other thing to mention is that I'm going to try and use the bombs when I need them most, which is after a wave is spawned and as late as possible in the game mode. We'll fast forward a bit now, and I want to talk about something that I find really important, and that's the idea of when to group your champions and when to fan them outwards. Very simply, I'm going to be keeping an eye on the top and waiting until I see the message that a new wave's arriving after this turn. Then I'm going to start planning how to contract my team back together again. The reason for this is because they buff each other defensively, but also because the enemies that are spawning in will block each other, and that means you take less immediate damage. This map is particularly good for doing this because it has barbed wire and pipes slowing down the enemy, but you're also going to see me doing this repeatedly over the battle. And here we're going to see the power of Titus, and why I'm saying that he's a champion most of us are sleeping on. I leave him at the front, but because we haven't killed wave 3, he actually takes a lot of punishment and finally falls. However, he straight up kills a gene stealer, reviving himself, and he's ready to keep on fighting. Again, I check where the last enemy is, take him down, and now we're uncommon level and ready to keep pushing through. Once the active refresh spawns, I want to isolate a troop with Bellator. So I work pretty hard moving my team around and clearing space just to do that. Now the belly babies can fly in and be a real nuisance in this match. They won't last the longest, but they're at least helping with the rest of our character's survival. One note on this, you want to be using Bellator's active after he's leveled up because his spawns are tougher. This mode is all about risk and reward. How long can you survive without using your actives, and how can you protect your pickups? Then I just get into a bit of rhythm over the next few waves, contracting, fanning out, and repeating. Forecast does a lot of damage, while down bottom Titus is really doing a great amount. But now let me skip forwards a bit, because everything's calm and we come into the start of wave 8. And here, even though I'm actually in a decent enough position within the game mode, I wanted to use my first bomb in order to show you the new bomb range, as it got increased to 4 in the last patch. And that really makes a difference, because if you can protect your bombs, they're going to do a lot of work for you in this claustrophobic map. So now let's skip forwards to wave 11, and remember, this is the one that we need to complete to get our Codex of Wars at least. It should be your minimum target unless you're a newer player. I've contracted everyone, and I'm now ready to attack, but I still have some enemies from wave 10 kicking about, which means I'm gonna take some damage. With that in mind, I just hit the bomb, clean wave 10 out, and now I'm primed to finish wave 11. Before wave 13 spawns, I pull everyone back, and now this is the big moment. I need to kill everything from wave 12 and 13, which includes the Tyrant Guard and the 6 Barbagonts that are coming in. And you can see the power of the Barbagonts here, because they take down Titus. But this Space Marine isn't done yet and just keeps on going. I tried to blast some with Baraquel, but he goes and stands on barbed wire, which wasn't my smartest move. You really want to make sure that position him first and then shoot with him. So now it's time for a big bomb. And Titus does a lot of damage with it, clearing some of the smaller enemies and taking the health down on some of the bigger ones. Nicodemus follows up with a careful heal, making sure that when I move, I position myself to come into contact with as many friendly troops as possible as he heals everyone around him. Forecast does an amazing attack on Tyrant Guard, taking him down, but then the Barbagonts go crazy and wipe out Titus and Nicodemus. Things are not looking good anymore. I still have to kill wave 12, and that's really hurting me. My reinforcements come through though, crushing another enemy, and I have 8 left to take down. Those 3 Barbagonts at the top are gonna be the most difficult. We check to see where wave 12 is, and it's just this annoying little one here. So Forecast comes in, finishes him up before we clean up a couple more. Now wave 14 appears, and it's some more big boys as Death Leaper and Winged Prime flood the battlefield with Sarkwell falling. This is getting too close for comfort. The Barbagonts are stuck at the top. We're going to have to throw everything at them and hope we get them. And so I'm just going to show you how this plays out.
Don't push back. Oh. Don't push back. Oh. Don't push back. Oh. Don't push back. Don't push back. Oh. Don't push back. Oh. Don't push back. Don't push back. Conscience under pressure. Conscience under pressure. Huh? Conscience under pressure. You can shake it anyway. Well, you can shake it anyway. Oh. Well, you can shake it anyway. Oh. Well, you can shake it anyway. Push back. Don't push back. Don't push back. Don't push. That's the limit. Don't push back. Don't. No, that's the limit. Don't push back. Don't. No, that's the limit. Don't push back. Don't. Oh, that's the limit. Don't push back. Don't. Yeah, that's the limit. Don't push back. Don't push back.
And there we go. I got my wave 13 finished and got a decent enough score. Anything over 70,000 is really reasonable result for most people, and I'm happy with that personally. It was great to see Forecast and Baraquel in a last man standing situation, triggering their final bombs as the enemies piled into them to take down any last ones they could, and this is exactly why I love Tacticus. This is the first time I've covered an event like this, usually preferring to leave it to the other content creators, So let me know in the comments below if you found this useful, or if there's anything else you'd like to see brought into a video like this. And so I hope you have as much fun as I did here when it comes out, and let me know which one of you got the highest score from my community.